Hi YouTube, it's me again. Sorry, this actually isn't anything. I just felt like holding something that felt like a microphone for a second.
Cherish takes over the world, not live and never in front of a studio audience.
I want to preface this by saying there is no script, so I'm sorry in advance for what comes of that. I had to readjust. I didn't like that you couldn't see the top of my head. Also, ignore my space. This room's like has the best lighting per se and the best place to sit, but this is supposed to be an art room and it's just kind of a shit show. So, anyways, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Here's the thing. I personally am the absolute worst about watching YouTube indefinitely or picking like one show, one movie, and I'll just watch that over and over and over again for like months at a time. Last year I did genuinely nothing but watch American Dad on YouTube for a solid 6 months. And don't get me wrong, that's cool, comfort show or whatever, but like I feel like I'm not nearly as inspired as I used to be, and I feel like a lot of that comes from the fact that I've gotten so bad at consuming nothing but social media and video essays instead of actual art. So, with all that being said, for the next 28 weeks, every week, I will spend that week, I'm allowed to watch YouTube, I'm allowed to watch new shows that are coming out. So like, I really like the show Ghosts, I can watch new episodes of that. However, outside of that, I have to watch movies or start a show that starts with that letter of the alphabet so I go from A to Z, 28 weeks. And I wish I could say this is like just some amazing idea I had, but this idea actually comes from the Barbie Diaries. If anyone has ever watched that movie, I was obsessed with it as a kid, and her best friend would do that every week, and I always thought that was so cool, and I couldn't wait to do that when I grew up, and then I kind of forgot about it, but someone like mentioned it in passing like a month ago, the movie, and I've been thinking about it ever since. So I'm going to try to use this as like a workaround to force myself to start being creative again in the weirdest way possible. So yeah, the first week, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be starting this week or next week, and you'll probably see this at the beginning of like the first week's whatever, you know? So at this point, you're about to see all of the things I watched for A. But long story short, I'll be starting soon, and yeah, so let's jump to Future Cherish. Let's hear about all the movies I watched that start with A.
Thought it would be more fun to go into the first week blind, so I'm just going to start scrolling and see what we find. At first I was just looking through the general movies, but I decided to actually just look up A and go from there. After scrolling down and back up, I ended up finding something. Now, to be honest, this may be kind of using the term movie loosely, but I had originally decided on a comedy special, Andrew Soule's Life. Normally I wouldn't count this, but I wanted to start slow and not immediately overwhelm myself. I still had a little bit of daylight left and a few texts to answer, so I thought this may be the best of both worlds, because I could go ahead and jump headfirst into this project, but still do what needed to be done. But boy was I wrong, I got mad sucked in. I ended up pausing every single time just so I could finish what I was doing. Now I'm realizing at this point that this idea like needs some sort of reviews. And I didn't really think about that before the fact, so let's move back upstairs and talk strategy for how we're going to review all of these movies really quick.
And welcome back! We are back upstairs in our little humble abode, just for a quick time being. Let's go over rating system. So,
I do want to preface again that this is very barely scripted. The part you just heard, I believe is scripted. This part, which I can tumble, if you will. Also, I am really fast sweaty. I took my dog out, came home, and was like, now's the perfect time. We'll see, it might not be. Also, I hope you like the outfit change. It's like a week-ish later, if not more. I've watched all my A movies at this point.
but yeah, quick breakdown of our scaling system here. I pulled up a little piece of paper to make it easier for you guys, because knowing me, you don't, but you will. I had to make it as difficult as possible. I spent a week trying to decide on this, and this is what we came up with. So, for our ranking system, we have good. An example of this would be like Howl's Moving Castle. Good plot, good writing, good artistry, all of the film is good, you know, just across the board, everything is quality art. Okay, and then we have good bad. Good bad, a good example is like most Adam Sandler movies, if you will. To be fair, I do want to preface, I haven't seen anything past like 50 First Dates, but like it's goofy, it's silly, it's not meant to win awards, but it's a good movie, it's funny, okay? And then we have bad good. Bad good is if you've ever seen the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, that's a good example. Kung Fu Hustle. Any movie that is like should be a B movie or is technically a bad movie but is still funny, something about it, whether it's the film, what have you, something about it makes it redeemable. Bad good. I love a good bad good movie. I'm hoping we find a lot of those. And then we have bad bad. Bad bad is your just run-of-the-mill average, maybe, if you will. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's not bringing anything to the table. It's not really art, it's just making money. You know what I mean? Like those movies. The writing's trash, the lighting's weird, you know, like you can tell they put just enough money into it to like send it to the box office type movie. That's what we're talking there. And then we have ugly. And ugly is a bad movie. It may be a movie that won awards. It may be a beautiful movie. It may have great art. It may have bad writing. It may be anything under the sun, but we're about to get into it because the biggest review that I have from this week is ugly. So let's loop back so you can see me fuck some shit up. So you can see me mess some shit up. Damn it! So you can see me struggle. And then we'll be back. See you in 5.
Now that we finally have the review basis out of the way, I have to admit that we're actually not going to be reviewing the comedy special, not because it was bad, but because it feels a little silly reviewing what's essentially someone's memories and feelings. I know that someone somewhere could make an argument that some aspect that's what all movies are, and while I don't disagree, that's kind of an oversimplification, and I just don't have the time to argue semantics, so we're just going to move on. And with that being said, we're going to sit down and actually watch our first movie. Oh my god, did you see that? Oh my god, did you see that? Oh my god, what was that? Oh, the color there's crazy. Oh my god, did you hear what he just said? Okay, I lied. While I did technically watch the first 40 minutes of this movie, I didn't really get to enjoy it and I just ended up giving up, but I did really like the cinematography and the color, so we're probably going to come back to this bad boy later since it starts with the. I might just count it as a T, that way I get a chance to watch it again. Okay, so now let's watch our real first movie.
Hey guys, it's me, pink dress Cherish, again, coming at ya. I'm gonna slide this bad boy around because it's time to get into it. It's time to really review. So unfortunately, I only have one movie this week that I will be doing a full review on. And I'm gonna try my hardest to like not really spoil the movie, but at the same time, because I'm gonna complain and it's gonna spoil the movie. So our first and only movie this week that I finished is Anora. I'm gonna put something here, I swear. And I was really excited to see Anora because I saw a lot of stuff about it last year. And I saw that it won an award. I knew it was a sex work movie, SW. Asterisk, I'm gonna be frank right now, I don't really care about monetization or demonetization. This is more of a me thing. So I'm gonna be upfront with it. I'm gonna be straight. Take that as you will. Asterisk, spoiler, parent advisory. It's about to get rough. Okay? So I was excited to see Anora because it was presented as like almost a Cinderella story. Like I was going into it as a Pretty Woman, you know? Like I was going into it thinking that homegirl was gonna be happy. I thought it was gonna be a happy movie. And should have known. I should have known. Because the first minute of the movie is like a club scene, but they put it to like the most, like, it's not club music. It's like feel good, getting ready for the day music almost, but there's titties out. There's titties out the whole time. And that like started with cognitive dissonance because like they're not dancing to that. Look me in my eyes. They're not dancing to that, right? But at the same time, I was excited because I was like, oh, you know, maybe this sets up the fact that we're not going to do what we do in most movies of this genre, where we just make the main character as miserable as possible and all of these evil things happen to this character just because she's a sex worker. They fooled me. They got me in the first half. Because the fucking first half of the movie... Might be. The first half of the movie is so... It's kind of cringe. Honestly, it was a little cringe. The writing's not great. But at the same time, it's so sweet. Like, she's getting out of there. This guy, like, wants her, you know, she's happy. She's living her best life, you know. She finds this guy. I'm not even explaining the plot to you. So the plot, sorry, I got sidetracked complaining immediately. So in Anora, we have Annie, aka Anora. She is a stripper slash escort, doing the dang thing. We love her for it. She's making money. She is the only person at the strip club that speaks Russian. So when this Russian guy comes in, he's like 21, partially speaks English, partially speaks Russian. He wants a Russian dancer. He gets the Russian dancer, okay? He is obsessed with her. He's like, hey, come back to my place, you know? And she's like, okay, for the money. So they start doing that, and then they hit it off, you know? And then he convinces her to spend a week with him. And at the end of the week, he's like, I don't want to go home because what we think is a small plot twist, there'll be a bigger plot twist later. He's like, I just can't go home. I don't want to go back to my family. Let's get married and then I'll be an American. And she does. And in this point in the movie, you're happy for her. You're like, oh my God, girl. Be that princess. They even make a joke about her being Cinderella. And you're like, yeah. And then they do a little montage of her having the best fucking week of her life. And you're like, yeah. And then you realize there's still 2 hours to this fucking movie. An hour and a half. And then the twist comes. So the twist you think is gonna be like, it turns out he's a part of the mob and they have to run away, or like, that's what I was guessing. Is I was like, okay, like it's gonna be, you know, some crime syndicate or something, because he's like kind of weird about like what his dad does at first, and then you figure out who his dad is, and it's like, but no, what it turns out halfway through the movie, his family starts showing up, or people that are supposed to take care of him, because he is a man-child. And instead of dealing with those people and dealing with his family, he runs away. And then they somewhat take Anora hostage. They try to like hee-hee-ha-ha it. And then they spend the rest of the movie searching for her husband, who is to the wind. And then when they find her husband, she's like, oh my God, I've been like so down for you this entire time. I told them like, we love each other. You're gonna stick it out with me. Like, you gotta stick up for me. Like, we're in this together. I just spent 36 fucking hours searching for you. One, they find him at the strip club she was working at. There is like one person in this entire movie that is hateful to our main character. And of course, that's the woman that he's dancing with, or fucking practically. And then two, they finally get his ass together, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? We're married. We're in this. We're locked in. And he laughs in her fucking face and is like, no, we're getting a divorce. My daddy said so. And then sits in a plane and practically cries for the rest of the movie. I spent 3 hours on this. 3 hours of this goddamn movie. For what? For what? Because it's ass. And then let's roll it back, because there's a second part to this movie. There's a second part that seems very unimportant. Okay. Another preface here. I'm just gonna start adding asterisks in the corner. I honestly didn't even hate the movie that much until the last 5 minutes of the movie. And the last 5 minutes of the movie made me so aggressively upset that it ruined the rest of the movie for me. So I'm gonna put the spoiler thingies up again, because I know I said no spoilers, but that was a lie. I apologize. I apologize from the bottom of my heart, that was a lie. Because I am gonna spoil it, because it was shit. Alright? It was so, you know? So, if we go back to when all of her husband's little home dudes show up looking for him, there is one guy there, and he's a little weird, he's a little quiet, but they try to frame him throughout the movie like he is a genuine nice guy, not like a nice guy. And so throughout the movie, there's like constant issues with him and our main girl, Anora. So he's like their muscle, if you will. So he keeps having to like try to tie her down or like try to calm her down, and it turns into these big fights and it escalates. And that's where a lot of the like little hee ha ha, if you will, comes from. But it's not actually that funny, for one. And for two, she's shitty as fuck to him, like the whole movie. Like he tries to bring a scarf just in case she gets cold, and like the entire time that he's like having to tie her up or like do shitty things to her, if you will, he's like apologizing and trying to make it as nice as possible, and she's just being really fucking hateful to him. Which, I mean, considering context, I probably wouldn't be super nice either, but at the same time, if he's the only person being nice, there's a friend. There's somebody that could be on your side, your team, you know? Maybe, you feel me? So, with that preface, I thought that they were gonna end the movie really cute, because 10 minutes before the movie ends, she finally gets her little annulment divorce or whatever, and the Russian family is like, hey, Igor, because that's his name, by the way. Hey, Igor, you have to take Anora home, and you're gonna make sure that she gets paid and she gets back to her actual house. Not our house, her actual house. So, they get on a plane together. She's been shitty to him the whole time. They finally get back to a house. They're smoking, packing, what have you. And I have like a little moment where like, I think in the writer's mind, they were gonna be like, this will be cute, like, they're arguing back and forth, but it's like kind of friendly or whatever, you know? Not really, but like they try to make a little almost meet cute moment for them. And I was like, okay, you know, this would be, if they ended the movie on like them becoming friends, that would be cute. And then, so like right at the very end, the last 5 minutes of the movie, they pull up to her house. And right before she gets out of the door, I want to preface really quick. I forgot something that's important to this. So, when they are tying her down halfway through the movie, they end up taking her wedding ring from her because they're like, whores don't deserve rings, this isn't real anyways. And she gets really upset about it, obviously. So, now that you have that context, at the end of the movie, they pull up at her house, and she goes to get out, and he's like, Anora, wait. And she's like, yes, Igor. And then he pulls the ring out and hands it to her. And you think that it's gonna be like, oh, so sweet, like that's finally they're like, maybe they don't hate each other, maybe she'll finally understand that he's just trying to be friendly, you know? And then they could have done a super cute sequel of them like making their life together or whatever, because that's what Hollywood does, you know? That's not what happens. That's not what happens at all. So I don't, I hate it. I so like desperately hate this movie. So he gives her the ring, right? She's like, and then she just stays there. And he's like, okay. So he gets out of the car, grabs all of her luggage, goes and puts it on her porch, comes back, she's still, he gets back in the car and he's like, hey girl, you good? You know, like he's like, and she, instead of just thank you, like a literal thank you, it's that simple. That's how they could have ended the movie. Thank you. No. Instead, all of a sudden, for some reason, she looks over at him, starts erotic dancing to get partially undressed, gets on top of him, starts doing, you know, and then he like leans in for a kiss because what the fuck else is gonna happen at this point? And then she freaks out and starts trying to fight him on top of him, just starts crying and then just lays down and cries, and the movie ends. The credits roll. Are you being serious with me right now? Because what the on God's green earth, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Where did that come from? Why was that necessary? Who was that for? Because it wasn't for me. It is fine. If that's how you want to end the movie. But like, why? Why did you have to do that? I just don't understand what this movie was for at all. And I think that's what it is like, we could have Pretty Woman, you know? Or you could have even taken the opposite direction and just made it a Tyler Perry movie, if you will. Like just the lowest of low that you could possibly have to a woman. But this weird in-between is shitty and nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing for the whole movie. And then toss it in there. Fuck it. See what happens, is what they said to the end of that movie. Because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any logical sense. Literally, the last 5 minutes of the movie, they just threw some paint at a wall. What I think it was they were like, we need to get the actress partially naked just one more time before the credits roll. But I don't think it was even that, because you can't see anything. It doesn't make any sense. There was literally absolutely no reason to end the movie that way. And I think that's why I was so upset. But yeah, so with that being said, now that you've listened to me complain for God knows too long, probably, I give it an ugly. And hopefully next week's movies will be better. I'm gonna be honest, I would love some recommendations for our B movies. I do plan on watching the B movie. I actually haven't seen the B movie, and I think that one will be my first one. There was another one that I was like, oh, for sure that one. I can't remember what it was right now, but they're all something just miserable and goofy next week, because after this I need something fun. But yeah, no, I'm really excited to get into my B movies. I'd love your recommendations. I'd love to know what you think of this and my nonsense. Hopefully I put out another one of these. Hold me hostage until I do. And have a wonderful day. I don't know how to close this stuff, so we're just gonna end it here, I guess. And I know most people like, comment, and subscribe, or ask for it. Blow up a building. I don't give a shit. Have a good day. See you later. Bye.